Hello everybody, you're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host Dane Cobain. This is the weekly radio show where we chat about the local arts news. We have a different guest on each week. We play some local unsigned and or indie music. We head over to the Rhyolite Zone for a short story and or some poetry. We have a different guest, I don't know if I mentioned that. We catch up with Twangling Jack Ford in the Oak Shed for a weekly album review. As always, you can find us on Facebook. If you search for The Art Show on Wickham Sound, you should be able to find us. And we're repeated on Wickham Sound on Monday nights. We're on the Wickham Sound Listen Again. We're on iTunes, Spotify, and wherever else you get your podcasts. You can find us on Facebook. If you search for The Art Show on Wickham Sound, you should be able to find us. And you can email me here on the studio on dane.cobain@wickhamsound.org.uk. That's dane.cobain@wickhamsound.org.uk. So, this week we are going to chat to the incredible Jazz Dillon, but before we do that, we're going to head over to the Rhyolite Zone, and this is a short story for Flash Fiction Friday from A.B. Frank. He's a previous guest on the show. You can find him on YouTube as well. He does these each week. He's actually currently taking a break because he's just bought his first house. So I commiserate with him because I know how how difficult that was for me, at least. And yeah, this is A.B. Frank.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Flash Fiction Friday with me, A.B. Frank. I just want to remind you all that if you want to join my newsletter, I'll send you a short story straight away upon signing up. You'll get a few articles that I write as well. And you'll also get every episode of Flash Fiction Friday sent directly to your inbox in written and audio format. The link will be in the basement below to sign up for the newsletter. Anyway, let's get on with this episode. If you've not noticed, by the way, if you're the ones watching on YouTube, I'm in what will be the library of Chateau Frank, the new castle that I've purchased. Behind me is where the shelves are going to go along those two walls. But it's quite bare at the moment. There's nothing in here, and it's probably a bit echoey. So I apologise for that. I'll get that sorted over the next couple of weeks. So anyway, let's move on to this week's piece of Flash Fiction. Now, go on random word generator, as always, 250 word story, give or take 10%. The prompt that I generated for this week's story, the object or the noun was measurement, and the action or the verb was target, and I've chosen the genre of action, sort of crime, thriller-y sort of story, somewhere between those three. What I do when I generate these prompts, I just do a bit of word association to get the creative side of the brain working, and I write words related to the object, measurement. So here I've written tailor, suit, tape measure, distance, weight, time, speed, judgment, weighing up. Just writing words that immediately come to my head. Spend about a minute doing that are words associated with the object that I generated. Then I do the same for the action or the verb. And for target, I wrote accuracy, darts, aim, goal, missed the target, and things like that. So that's how I sort of start off. And some of these words end up in the story. Some of them just help me make the connection between the two things. So anyway, the story that I've written is called I Must Leave the City. This is set in my fictional Victorian city. My target was across the road. The tailor took measurements of him, sizing him up for a new suit. I took measurements of a different kind, sizing him up for something else entirely. My crossbow, chosen because of its quiet properties, was trained on the doorway. I observed his movements from an open first floor window, waiting for him to exit the tailor's. I was flat on my stomach on the bed. The room belonged to an elderly artist that I had tied to a chair without resistance. Not long now, old man, I said without looking away from my target. Someone will come to untie you soon. The shop door opened and the bell tinkled. For my target, today was just another day. But it was my job to make today his last. I moved the sights over his neck. Adrenaline began to course through me, the thrill of the hunt. I exhaled. Then I took my shot. The bolt was buried into the side of a horse's head that crossed my path as it pulled a hansom cab. No time to reload. My target had taken cover. I had failed. Now I would be wanted by my employer and those that work for my target. I ran down the stairs, paused at the back door to check it was safe to leave, and exited into the alleyway. The sewer cover was slightly ajar, just how I left it, so I knew it hadn't been tampered with. I slid it aside and dropped into the sewer. I must leave the city of Vileshire at once. The end. So thanks a lot for listening or reading or watching or however you've consumed this episode of Flash Fiction Friday with me, A.B. Frank. Don't forget to join the newsletter. Link will be in the basement below. And I'll see you in the next one. Hello everybody. Welcome back to Flash Fiction Friday with me, AB Frank. Now, this is episode 10. We've gotten into double figures here, and we got there a lot faster than what I expected. And as always with this story, 250 word piece of flash fiction, give or take at 10%. So somewhere between 225, 275 words. Random word generator spat out an object or a noun for me, which was office, action or a verb for me, which was tour. And I decided on historical fiction. What you'll find now, a lot of these stories, if not all of these stories, will be set in my fictional Victorian city called the city of Vileshire. What I do is, once I've generated the words, I do a bit of word association. So for the object, for the word office, I was thinking a lot of like wood on the walls. I was thinking that sort of vibe I was going for. And so I've written like feather and ink bottle. So I was thinking of just that on the desk, wooden desk, chair, paper, drawers, wood paneling on the walls and the corridors. I was even thinking of whiskey in a decanter somewhere on a tray, on a table to the side, or even on the desk maybe. Cigars as well, just to try and get the some visuals in my mind, set the scene a little bit, get the creative side of my brain working as well. And then for the action or the verb, which was tour, I wrote being shown around, visit a new place, unfamiliar surroundings. So those are the sort of initial thoughts that I had within like the minute or so after generating the words. And then I wrote the following story called Nod If You Understand. Commissioner Montgomery stood in the bustling lobby. Administrators and office clerks mixed with the savages being dragged towards the block where the holding cells were located. His foot tapped while he waited for a tour of the building to which he allocated funding, a tour by someone that depended on him for their wages. Despite this, he was kept at arm's length by this specialised department of the Vileshire Police Force. Commissioner, welcome to the Order of Occult Eradication. A muscular man appeared, wearing the official black jacket of the OOE, with the emblem stitched prominently in gold on the chest. Remember, we value anonymity highly here. Please refrain from using names in the more public areas. Good day to you too, said Montgomery. This way, please. The man disappeared down a corridor to the right of the front desk. I'd like to start at the holding cells, Montgomery said when he caught up with the man. Oh, I'm afraid that won't be possible. The man looked over Montgomery's shoulder. Montgomery turned and saw a giant man blocking the way back. Somehow they had left the bustle behind. They were alone. Here's what you'll do next, the man continued. You'll sit at a desk in my office with my friend there and write your report, a perfect report of everything in the building. Then you will deliver the report. My friend will escort you to ensure safe delivery. Wouldn't want it to go missing now, would we? Commissioner Montgomery felt a hand on his shoulder. He swallowed. Nod if you understand, said the man. He did. The end. So thank you very much for listening, reading and watching this week, this episode of Flash Fiction Friday with me, AB Frank. If you want to join my newsletter, I will send you every episode of Flash Fiction Friday in written and audio format straight to your inbox. And you'll also get a free short story sent straight to your inbox as well as soon as you sign up. So if you want that, the link for that will be in the basement below. I'll see you in the next creepy or historical story set in the city of Vileshire. What's going on, everybody? This is episode 5 of Flash Fiction Friday with AB Frank. Before we get into this, I just want to quickly remind you that you can get the Flash Fiction Friday with AB Frank as a podcast now. So whatever podcast provider you use, go and find the podcast on there. Also, I'll be dropping a link to my email list. You get a few benefits by joining the email list. I won't pepper you with a bunch of emails, but there's a few benefits you get from joining. So in the link, it'll take you to a page where it'll explain some of those benefits. So go and check that out. And if you fancy, jump on the email list. So, episode 5 then. We've got the sci-fi genre, the object or the noun that I generated, insect, and the action or the verb that I generated, resolve. So that's sci-fi, insect, and resolve. And the story that I wrote, as always, 250 words, give or take 10%, is called My New Home. Enjoy. I wake to a writhing mass of shiny black. My bedsheet and covers are in tatters, eaten away by thousands of tiny beetles scuttling all around me. My home has been invaded, infested. I look for a way out, left them right. Everywhere they tumble over one another, over me. There is nowhere to go but through their unified body. I barge through, shouldering insects out of my way. The tunnel that I have burrowed into is lined with a crawling nightmare. There is no escape, and yet I continue. I must be close to the edge of my bed by now. If I can just get my bearings, I can head for the bedroom door. A glimmer of light, a glimmer of hope, not far ahead of me reflects off the backs of the beetles that I walk upon. I force my head out of the gap, but before I can inhale fresh air, I am falling. The impact when I hit the rug is gentle, and a few beetles land beside me with a patter. The fur fibres of the rug tower over me, and I am hungry. The urge to eat overwhelms me, but it is oh so natural. I am with friends, and we dine together. It is natural, for I too am a beetle now. This rug is my new home, at least for the time being. When it is no more, we will seek out another place to indulge, my new friends and I. The end.
Alright, that was a short piece by AB Frank for this week's entry to the Rhylight Zone. You're listening to The Archer on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound, and this is Black and Blue by Esther Hayes.
How do you hide a bruise when it's under your skin but constantly pushing through? Please tell me, how do you close off your heart when it's been beaten and torn apart? When is the time right to say I'm through? There's no point crying, there's nothing to do. Like a mirror shattered, I no longer have a clear view of you. And I am always turning, and I am always turning. Black and blue, black and blue. I'll say it louder, I'll say it louder. It's all thanks to you. It's all thanks to you. It's alright, darling, now I see the truth. The thoughts you've been hiding, the fear of wasted youth. I want you to know that I see the strain in your smiles. 'Cause you know this town was never ours. Isn't it funny how these things go? They're watching our cities die from miles below. You cut all of your ties to try to keep a hold. But honey, did you forget about me? How do you hide a bruise? I'm not the one who will lose. How do you hide a bruise? I'm not the one who'll turn black and
Everything I do just takes me to the wrong place. Everything I need just out of reach from my hand. Everything I say gets taken the wrong way, take me away. Anytime I think no one understands me anyway. wondering. Going for a walk and I'm wondering. Too deep, losing sleep. No release when the storm starts thundering. Oh oh, oh oh. Dance the night away. Oh oh, oh oh. Let's go back to the basics, back to the days of the pens and the papers. Wrapped in a pen, front page of the papers. I'm sitting on the fence with the old school ravers. Don't get me wrong, I am raving. Thanks for life is a blessing, it's amazing. Maybe it's the love I was raised in. Maybe it's the love I was raised in. Oh oh, oh oh. Dance the night away. Oh oh, oh oh. Dance the night away. Oh oh, oh oh. Dance the night away. Oh oh, oh oh. Everything I do just takes me to the wrong place. Everything I need just out of reach from my hand. Everything I say gets taken the wrong way, take me away. When I think no one understands me anyway. Don't get me wrong, I am raving. Thanks for life is a blessing, it's amazing. Maybe it's the love I was raised in. Maybe it's the love I was raised in. Oh oh, oh oh. Dance the night away. Oh oh, oh oh. Everything I do just takes me to the wrong place. Everything I need just out of reach from my hand. Everything I say gets taken the wrong way, take me away. Anytime I think no one understands me anyway, anyway. No one understands me anyway, anyway.
That was Dance the Night Away by Jazz Dillon. That's from her album Closure, which you can find on Bandcamp. It's one of those pay what you want to pay for things. You're listening to The Archer on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain, and I'm here in conversation with the very talented Jazz Dillon herself. Over to Jazz. So the first question is one I ask everybody, and you may or may not have an answer to this, but it's what was the last book that you read, and what did you think of it?
Well, I'm currently reading a book called Girl, Woman, Other, and it's like a feminist book that is about, well, I've just started it. I'm on the third or fourth chapter now, but it's about race, sex, class, and obviously racial equality and gender equality.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's about Amma, and she's a playwright, and it's just basically her facing the sort of struggles, and her mother being the sort of more old school version, her experiences, and now she's in the sort of more accepting times, but still has her struggles as well, with getting her stuff off of the ground. And yeah, I can relate to her character. She's a cool character.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it sounds like quite a timely read as well, especially with sort of what's going on in America at the moment. So you've picked a good time to pick that up. Although the depressing thing is, I suppose it's always a timely read because there's always something happening in the world where those kind of themes are relevant.
Yeah. I know when the war in Ukraine happened and started, it's like, well, yeah, there's wars going on all over the world, sadly. But yeah, hopefully, peace and love. And that's what I try and do. Whenever I meet people, I try and just have a positive impact. And yeah. Well,
and that kind of brings me nicely on, because obviously I want to talk to you about your music. And would you say, is that like a message behind your music? Is there a message behind your music?
I would say the two main sort of styles I have with my writing are my sort of angry at exes style songs, and then my flip side where I feel like I have to be balanced, and I don't want to have that as my sole thing, even though that is a big part of my writing. And then the other side is the sort of hippie side and the peace and love, and saying we're going to get through this, it doesn't matter what's going on. So yeah, they're my sort of two sides.
Cool. Like a bit like a yin and yang almost.
Yeah life's all about balance, isn't it?
Yeah Yeah, for sure.
quite cool.
Cool. And how long have you been making music, and where did you get your start?
So I've had a few different tracks that I've gone down. So I've started writing when I was really young. I used to love doing poetry and stuff like that. And then I sort of just met lots of musical people, and I just really like trying other people's styles as well. So I look at myself more of a writer than a performer or even a singer or a guitarist. I don't think of myself, even though I can do that, I think of myself much more as a writer. So I just love meeting other people and getting on their vibes and seeing what they're doing and mixing it up with I don't know what my thing is. But yeah, that's my thing. And I went to college and did music, and that's where my music changed quite a lot, my style, because I just met so many different people. And yeah, it's all the rest from there.
Cool. And I mean, I suppose, as you sort of say, you've got quite a diverse set of influences. Could you name any of the acts who've kind of influenced you over the years, big or small?
Oh, loads. Skin Dread, I love them. Skunk Anansie, System of a Down, Red Hot Chili Peppers, Justin Timberlake. Yeah, just lots of different people. When I was younger, I really was into the R&B and the really poppy stuff, and then went to college and got into the more alternative stuff and the heavier stuff. And I can remember finding my brother's iPod when I was about 12 or 13, and he's 5 years older than me, and there was all of this music that I'd never listened to before. So I think that was probably the start of the change for me, and being like, yeah, I really love music.
Yeah,
there's
cool.
So much of it. There's so many different things. There's not just the one set thing, even though I did love Spice Girls, but it's not just the one set thing.
Yeah.
And all the subgenres, I love it.
Cool. It's a bit like opening Pandora's box or something.
100%, yeah. There's so many genres, and it's like, wow, how did I get here from this? And that's one of the things I love about playlists as well on Spotify and on YouTube, how you can just end up in one thing and it just sort of filters out, and you can get to something that somehow you love but is really different.
Cool, awesome. And so you mentioned, or you kind of alluded to this, but I wondered what does the songwriting process look like to you? How do you sit down and write a song?
It all depends. If it's one of the angry songs, then normally there is an instance that definitely ignites that.
Yeah.
And it goes with that balance as well. So with me, I pick my battles. If something irritates me, that's fine, but I have to get it out some way. I don't necessarily have to give it back to that person, but I'm going to get rid of it in my way, and I will write it out of my soul. But if it's, I don't know, sometimes I'll just be walking my dogs in the woods, and just my footsteps, that's just like the little beat, and then just all of the thoughts in my head, that might just start and come into a song. But yeah, it can be any time, anything. Sometimes I'll just be listening to something else, and I'm like, oh, and I'll just get a little melody from that, and then that starts a whole different thing.
Cool. And you use a loop pedal, and I wondered what like first attracted you to using a loop pedal?
They're just so pretty. I think what it was as well is, so I had two bands. I had a band when I was in college, and I had a band when I was in university as well. And then that's nice to have all the accompaniments. You've got the bass, you've got the drums, you've got the backing vocals. And then when it was just back to me being me, I didn't have that again. So performing live, that enables me to put those back in. I do miss my band members, love them. But yeah, I'm able to do the drums, I'm able to do the bass, I'm able to do the backing vocals now as well. So it just gives a more full sound to me, and relying upon myself. So I can take that anywhere now. And yeah, anyone who is good at harmonies, or anyone who is multi-instrumented, I don't know if that's a word, I would definitely recommend getting a loop pedal. They are awesome. Yeah.
And I mean, I suppose it can help you to stand out in some ways, especially if you're on a lineup where it's maybe, 6 solo artists just with vocals and a guitar. As you say, it kind of allows you to develop a sort of a bigger sound and to sort of stand out.
Yeah, I suppose so. I mean, the last couple of gigs I've done, I have been the only person of color, so I think I do stand out sometimes anyway. But yeah, I love it. I would definitely recommend it to anyone. They're so much fun. Even if you wouldn't say that you're good at vocals or multi-instrumented, just have a go for some fun.
Yeah. And I mean, I suppose that's quite a cool point. So I suppose that's part of the joy of it, is just having one and then just sitting around at home and just making random loops and sort of seeing where it takes you.
Yeah. I'm not sure my neighbors love it, but yeah, hearing the same thing over and over. But yeah.
Well, it's never easy to like live next door to a musician anyway, unless you are also a musician, I suppose.
Yeah. Just doing the call and response through the walls.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
So how would you, and this is a tough one, but how would you describe your sound? I suppose there's quite a lot of different influences going into that.
Yeah, that's always the tough one for me. I think I'd like to think that it's like acoustic soul folk with accents of rap and hip hop, but I don't know, and now I've got my loop, every single time it's a different, every take is different. So the song can be, one day it can sound I can just use my vocals and make it sound quite orchestral and like choir-esque, and then the next day I've got all of my percussion instruments out, tambourines going, and I've got my kazoo. So I think now my songs are quite organic with how I'm feeling at that time. So yeah, it's a hard one to be like, yeah, this is what you like. It's like Marmite, you love it or not. Because it's, well, one day it's Marmite in the tin and next day it's jam. Yeah. So yeah, I'm a bit of a mix of everything.
I like that though. That's a cool way of putting it. Okay. And so how about when it comes to recording? Because again, if you're using your loop pedal live and it's kind of making every performance unique, how do you approach, I suppose, recording and doing like a quote unquote definitive version of one of your songs?
Yeah, well, so far I've only done the times that I've recorded using the loop, I've worked with another artist. So Craig Bradbury, he was another artist and he's got the next level up of the loop that I've got. So he's got the 505 and that's 5 channels. So where I've only got the 2 and I'm sort of a bit limited now, especially that I'm getting more to grips with it. I'm gonna get the 505 soon, but it's so good. So I worked with him in I want to say it was 2019. And that's when we did work on the loop. So I was doing my songs and he was controlling the loop. So that's the only experience that I've had with recording through it. And to be honest, it was really easy. I sat back. He's an amazing producer. He just did it all for me.
Yeah.
So now recording with it, I just am doing at the minute live performances with the loop. And when I'm recording it is just more stripped back and going through channel at a time. And yeah, until I like it.
You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain. I'm here in conversation with Jazz Dillon. And this is Jazz with Patient from her EP Closure.
You said I should be open, I could let people closer, but I keep on holding back, it gets worse every time I'm choked up. And when I get my hopes up, it isn't worth the trying. Looking at it closer, always seems to show up that you are a liar. Looking at it closer, always seems to show up that you are a liar. Do-da-da-day.
that was Patient by Jazz Dillon. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain, and it's time to catch up with Jazz Dillon for some more of our interview. And I mean, do you plan to work on like an album or an EP or anything like that?
I think it's calling for it. So now it's been almost 2 years since my last EP. So yeah, I think now, especially with the loop, because it's around about 2 years ago that I got the loop now as well. So now I feel like, yeah, there is probably going to be a little loop thing coming out very soon.
Awesome, cool. And your previous recording, is that on Spotify and things like that? Where can people check that out?
So at the moment, I've only got it on Bandcamp. It's the camp for the bands. And yeah, I've so what that basically was, it was mainly to be like a launch, and I did a lot of visuals for that. So you can find, for all of the songs on that EP, you can find the music videos as well on YouTube.
Cool. And I wanted to ask you about that, because your like music videos are pretty cool, and especially you obviously being a local artist, you shoot a lot out and around about the local area. What does it like to work on those videos, and how do you go about creating them?
Well, I think one of the good things is when it's local, I don't feel out of place. I feel very comfortable. I feel very happy to be running around with my friends in pink wigs and hazmat suits around the park. But yeah, I love Wickham. I really do. I love Buckinghamshire. I think it's so multicultural, so diverse, and I think any opportunity that I can get to paint it in a good way, which is the way that I see it, I am going to do that. Because there are, like, I've seen worse places to live in the UK. And I'm like, why are we in the top? We're not. It's great. It's great.
Yeah, I've seen those as well, and I always get a bit annoyed. But I mean, it's because, so I come from, originally I'm from the Midlands, from a town called Tamworth. And Tamworth is basically Wickham, but without the diversity, really. So I think that last time I checked on Wikipedia, it said of the last census, Tamworth was 99.8% white, and Wickham is something like 67.3%, and I think the national average is about 80%.
Yeah.
And so again, that's one of the things I like about Wickham as well, is that sort of multicultural sort of diversity, and again, I think especially with you, with how you say you've taken sort of so many influences into your music. I suppose being in a multicultural place in and of itself can be quite inspiring,
Yeah, well, definitely. Growing up, I had friends of all colors. All of my friends would, all of us. So, and I think that's a good thing. And I think that we can always learn from each other. I don't think that anything good can come from not knowing and being scared of something. Yeah,
for sure. Cool. Okay. Just a couple more questions. I want to ask you about some of your live shows. A fun one to get started. If you could support any artist, living or dead, who would you pick and why?
Oh gosh, living or dead. Okay.
Or you could do one living one and one dead one if you prefer.
I think I'd quite like. Okay, so there's two, and they both are loop artists.
Mm-hmm.
One of them has got much more mainstream, and one of them is, well, doing quite well for herself, to be honest. But Ed Sheeran and Tash Sultana. Oh, I've got a third one, Noga Erez as well. So, Ed Sheeran, I saw him do SBTV, You Need Me Man, with his loop. Amazing. Tash Sultana, she's Australian and she's just doing her thing. She's awesome with her loop pedal. And yeah, again, awesome. And Noga Erez, she's just too cool, and their live band is amazing, so they would put the pressure on as well for me to do a tight show. Well,
especially like if you end up supporting Ed Sheeran, because you're going to get quite a big audience there as well. So it's funny, he's probably the first person I sort of came across that that was well known and was using a loop pedal, and again for the same thing, the SBTV videos. But that was like, well, that's got to be
a long time
13 years ago or something. It was right at the sort of start of his career, wasn't it?
Yeah, I saw about coming up maybe 2 or 3 years ago, he did a show with on Jules Holland. And he brought the loop out again, and it was nice to see.
Awesome, cool. And obviously you've played a few of the Far Out Sessions gigs. I wondered if you know, how many of them have you played so far and which has been your favorite?
I think I've done 3 now. The next one is on Saturday, the 2nd. Which one was my favorite? Oh, so we did the Bull in Great Milton. That one was really good. It was a bit windy though. But yeah, that was a really nice stage outside. Good vibes. They had really good gin. And where was the other one? The Dane.
I don't know. Well, we did you've done the Rising Sun.
The Rising Sun, that was it. Not the Fisherman's Arms. Yeah,
you might have done there as well. I don't know.
Really beautiful location right near the river, and that was really nice. I'm not sure which one was my favorite. We'll go with the Bull because I felt more comfortable because I'd been back into performing.
Yeah.
But I like them all, really.
Yeah. Well, and again, I suppose it's a bit like, as you were saying with your performances, when they can change so much from day to day. There's always going to be like little bits I really enjoyed of this one, little bits I really enjoyed of that one, both of the performance, but also of the venues themselves.
Yeah. They were in really nice locations, and I got some nice photos of cows as well.
Yeah.
The little calves. They're really nice.
Cool. And just in general, and I guess, I mean, you can take this back as far as you want to go and include your band and things if you want to, but what have been some of your favorite gigs to date sort of throughout your career?
I really enjoyed being in college with the Man Alives, and we performed at the Nag's Head before it got turned into that. And that just felt really special. And yeah, I would love to perform that again. I would love to perform with those guys again.
Yeah. Well, and I suppose
one of them is living in Australia, one of them is living somewhere in Africa.
Wow.
One of them is still in Wickham, and we're planning on doing a jazz fusion, not me jazz the music, fusion. So yeah, hopefully.
Awesome. Well, and that was obviously like a historic venue as well. So, it's one where a bunch of really well-known artists have played throughout the years as well. So it's a nice one to be able to, to go on your list of places you played. Cool. And I wanted to ask you, because I noticed you've got a bunch of stickers on your guitar. Do you have a favorite sticker?
I quite like the one that says princess. I'm gonna go against my whole feminism thing. But Princess Jasmine. I was called that quite a lot growing up. And my little VW Beetle as well. And the first one that started it's a little, do you remember the cassette tapes? And you used to get the little stickers that would come with the cassettes?
Yeah.
So I was at studio almost 8 years ago, before me and my boyfriend actually got together now. So he was friends with my producer, and he put the first sticker on there. So that's probably got to be my favorite for 2 reasons, because it's from my now 8-year partner, and it started the sticker bomb. Yeah,
that's it. And I mean, I suppose, do you have space for more stickers? I suppose there's always going to be space. You'll always find space.
There's not too much on the head of it now, but there are a couple on the neck, and there's a Mighty Boosh one on the body. There's not much. I might have to, it's special ones now.
Yeah,
it's very, very special ones on there.
Yeah, because otherwise you'll get to the point where you have to put stickers over your stickers,
Yeah, can't do that.
Cool. And last question to end on, which is, well, it's sort of but what's next for you, and where can people follow you to find out more?
What's next for me? Well, probably a lot of harmonies, me hearing my own voice. Hopefully, I just want to be as authentic as I can be. And I feel like I'm getting there. I feel like I'm at, we'll say 85%.
Yeah.
So it's just to have that confidence, which I feel like I'm getting. I feel like the world is a nice place. And yeah, I'm going to be doing more music videos, more recording, all on Jazz Dylan on Instagram, Jazz Dylan on YouTube, Jazz Dylan on Facebook. She's not in so much, but and yeah, I just want to be singing my songs.
Big thank you to Jazz Dillon for joining me. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain, and this is Jazz Dillon with Thunder.
In your eye, tell me, are you wrong?
Tower of Hate by Robert Honor, and before that we had Thunder by Jazz Dillon. You're listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. I'm your host, Dane Cobain, and it's time for us to head over to the Oak Shed now to catch up with Twangling Jack Shord, for this week's review.
Manic Street Preachers, Forever Delayed, their greatest hits. My relationship with the recorded works of the Manic Street Preachers is very much love and hate. They burst onto the scene as a glam punk band, unlike anything else at the time, being way too late for glam rock, and all that was left of punk was a sour taste of the great swindle. To make things worse, it seemed the Manics used all the notoriety ploys in the rock and roll playbook to become stars. This album ends with one of their early singles and typifies this. It is called Motown Junk, which is provocative enough, but it includes the line "I laughed when Lennon got shot." It would not have made the B-side of a Clash single. I was unimpressed with the music and with their whole generation terrorist stance, with balaclava hats and self-harming razor-slashed skin. Then I heard the brilliant Motorcycle Emptiness. Then more of their noise passed me by until La Tristeza Duera got stuck in my head, with its infectious scream to a sigh refrain. Then one of them went missing, and they'd all been school friends and they must have been devastated, yet they made one of the great singles of the 90s, with Design for Life. The opening line to Design for Life is "Libraries gave us power, then work came to set us free." And the chorus is just an elaborate repeating of the title, yet the bouncier rhythm and the big production complete with strings is just so uplifting. It is odd that the song structure that they use on Design for Life is probably the one thing I most dislike about them. It is the way the verses to the songs may be literate and political, but the choruses tend to just be repetition of a slogan. I particularly dislike "If you tolerate this, then your children will be next," with its quote about killing rabbits and fascists. And I am not keen on the other songs from that album that gave them a whole string of overplayed hit singles. About the time they were having all these hits, they went from moaning about being bored teenagers to moaning about the English occupation of their beloved Wales. They spent much of the peak of their career draped in the Welsh flag, and while the guitarist started to look more and more like a young professional on Dress Down Friday, the bass player became combatively glam, aggressively wearing eye makeup like Celtic Woad. Maybe it was their non-conformity that stopped them maintaining their period as a headline act. I always think they quite quickly became underrated and were actually much better than Oasis or Coldplay. But it is always something other than the excellent quality of the singing, the soaring melodies and the tidy guitar that puts me off the Manic Street Preachers. Apart from the hits, I really liked Why So Sad with its 60s wall of sound and bar intro vocals. This seemed to be the start of a new poppier direction. There were some great singles released too late for this compilation. Gems such as It's Not War, Just the End of Love, Your Love Alone Is Not Enough with Nina Pearson from the Cardigans, and Let Robson Sing. Since releasing this greatest hits, they have made a number of albums, each with several catchy, upbeat, radio-friendly songs. They have even started doing amusing interviews where they make fun of their pessimism. I have 2 of their CDs which I found in charity shops, and I will buy more if I see them. I am hoping for another best of, as it seems that every few years a new Manics album appears out of nowhere, each with 1 or 2 upbeat pop songs, often with strings or horns that are perfectly suited to the Radio 2 playlist. Forever Delayed, Manic Street Preachers.
Big thank you to Twangling Jack Ford for this week's album review. Thank you to Jazz Dillon for joining me. Thank you to everyone whose music I've shared. And thank you to AB Frank for contributing to the Rhyolite Zone. As always, you've been listening to The Art Show on 106.6 FM Wickham Sound. You can catch up with us. We're repeating on Wickham Sound on Monday nights. We're on the Wickham Sound Listen Again. We're on iTunes, Spotify and wherever else you get your podcasts. You can also find us on Facebook on The Art Show. If you search for The Art Show on Wickham Sound, you should be able to find us. And you can email me here at the studio on dane.cobain@wickhamsound.org.uk. That's dane.cobain@wickhamsound.org.uk. So, big thank you to everyone for listening. I'm going to leave you with one last tune, and this is Tom Bradley Jr., another former guest of the show, with Loving You. I'll chat to you guys next week.
memories, tiny tragedies, lead me back now to loving you. And every time I blink, hesitate to think why I'm still in love with you. 'Cause every time I look away, there's a price I have to pay. 'Cause you are the one I'm thinking about tomorrow, and I need a second chance for you to come and help me fall away beneath your shadow and let me fall in love with you now, honey. Looking at the sky, screaming, asking why everything happened the way it did. I'm still in love with you and swear my heart's still true. All I wanna do for you. 'Cause every time I look away, there's a price I have to pay. 'Cause you are the one I'm thinking about tomorrow, and I need a second chance for you to come and help me fall away beneath my shadow and help me fall in love with you, oh honey. So baby, come on now and kiss me. Every day I have since I'm in you. Been a bumpy road, but I know that you miss me. 'Cause every time I look away, there's a feeling I could stay. It's you. Tomorrow, and I need a second chance for you to come and help me fall away beneath your shadow and help me fall in love with you now, honey. You are the one I'm thinking about tomorrow, and I need a second chance for you to come and help me fall away beneath your shadow and help me fall in love with you now, honey.